For some, they simply couldn't wait a single second longer for the start of so-called Freedom Day. At the stroke of midnight, nightclubs across England saw celebrations 16 months in the waiting. No masks, certainly no social distancing in sight. But from the end of September, all of this will only be available to the double jabbed. In fact, entry to any venue with large crowds will require proof of 2 vaccines. The news announced by Boris Johnson this afternoon from self-isolation. At his Chequers country retreat, pinged by NHS Test and Trace, he was unable to leave the house on Freedom Day, but he said he'll change the rules to allow other key workers to avoid the same fate.
We will protect crucial services, including the staffing of our hospitals and our care homes, the supplies of food, water, electricity and medicines, the running of our trains, the protection of our borders, the defence of our realm, by making sure that a very small number of named, fully vaccinated critical workers are able to leave their isolation solely for the work that I have described.
You always said the roadmap was cautious but irreversible. But with so much uncertainty over how high infection rates and hospitalisations could get, do you concede that is now a promise you can no longer keep?
We can't guarantee that. Something could obviously happen that changes our calculations. We've got to be humble in the face of nature.
Freedom, though, was not meant to look like this. This West End theatre should be full tonight for the opening of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. Instead, the show has been cancelled indefinitely after one actor tested positive and the rest of the cast were forced to self-isolate, despite them all testing negative.
We cannot function with this, current system. We can't isolate every time somebody may or may not have it. It just simply doesn't work. Please, please, will this government for once listen to us, listen. We do know what we're doing, we do.
You say the government don't get it. Do you worry deep down that the government don't care, and that's the problem here?
I do worry at the end of the day that the government doesn't regard theatre as anything other than nice to have. I don't think they have a clue of what the real economic value to the country theatre is.
And it's not just theatres. Hospitality is also struggling to stay open under the weight of isolation. Mowgli Street Food has had to close 3 of its 12 restaurants, with 85 of its workers currently in quarantine, despite only 4 testing positive for COVID.
A test and release system, for instance, would work perfectly well. You can test and release from when you come back from abroad, but why on earth when you're going into your workplace can't we do that? That would really help immensely.
But with cases rising rapidly, it's one rule the government isn't willing to change. And while the rules on masks may have changed to guidance today, there was little evidence people had changed their behaviour. On Liverpool's trains, masks were out in full force. On London's tube network, there was an 85% compliance on face coverings, as across England, Freedom Day all felt fairly familiar. Daniel Hewitt, News at 10.